record off record. I still want the act, not the ghost.
Whoa. Well, hello and welcome to the DCUK podcast. I'm not sure why it's in episode 4. I need to check it. But this is DCUK episode season 5, episode 5, and that's what it should be. And as always, I'm your host, James Graham. For some reason, it's decided to rename it to season 4 on the streams, but yes, it is season 5, episode 5, and I am bumbling through. If you're watching on YouTube, you might see this as a different angle and slightly better camera quality, I want to say. Here we are. I've decided to use my actual DSLR camera as a webcam. I've finally figured it out, and I think it looks pretty good. Quality is much better, so I think we're going to stick with this method. We've got a bit of an action-packed show. It should be good. We've got lots to talk about. We've got MLS All Star thingy-bobbies to talk about. We've got some transfer news that isn't actually related to DC United, but former DC player, and about the Lewis O'Brien deal. There was a little bit of an article that I found about Mateus Click, so I'll talk about that. We've got the match review about the NYCFC game, and we've got the preview of the New England game this weekend, so stay tuned for all of that. Just bear with me 2 seconds. I just want to check things out, make sure everything's working properly. So do apologize for any sort of mumblings and stuff like that, but I see some people have actually found their way in. So yes, welcome to the show. We are here, we are live, and get your thinking caps on for some questions, because I'll be answering those throughout the show. But like I said, apologize if you are watching this live and you are seeing it in episode 4, because that was last week. Right, let's talk about trivia time, because we didn't do one last week because we had our special guest on. But we're going to go back to some trivia time, and we have got obviously New England this week, New England Revolution, which I'd want to say there's been some rather good games over the years. Yeah, we've had some cracking games over the last few seasons, but obviously the big one, which was the Rumble at RFK. But the question for this week is, in the Rumble at RFK, what was the penalty shootout scoreline that saw us beat the Revs? That is, what was the penalty shootout scoreline that saw DC United beat New England Revolution? Bonus points if you can get the goal scorer, the winning penalty taker, I should say. So we have that, and nice to see Adrian Mulligrau. You saw a DC United fan on the road today, honked in a friendly way, but I don't think he found it that way. Either way, Vamos United. Absolutely Vamos United. Cool. Right. I'm still rather excited the fact that I'm able to use a DSLR camera. It just gives me something better to look at, rather, because I normally have, and I'll show you right now if I can reach around. So this is the camera that I normally use, and what I'm just going to do quickly is actually show you the camera that I have been using. So if I add a camera, now this is going to be on the fly, right? So add extra camera. So I'm going to show this on stream. So, those are my show notes there. But that's the camera we are using right now. So you'll see on the screen, that's the camera I have been using. That is the camera I am using. And you can just kind of see the size difference between the two. I just thought it'd be quite cool to actually use a proper camera again. Right, let's hide that, because you don't want to see me twice, unless you do. 2 different angles. Anyway, mumbling on. Right, let's talk some news. Let's get the news clip underway. So, this week's news. There has been a few points to go through. We all know that the MLS All Star game has been coming to Audi Field this summer, but what we have is now the opponents for this year, which is Arsenal. Currently top of the table in the Premier League, doing rather well. They've had the most amount of wins at this point in the season ever in their Premier League history. So fair play to Arsenal. I think it's a good shout to have them after breaking the league at MX run, which I thought was a good idea to do, having league at MX. But I would love to go back and go to the old days, old days of East versus West Conference. I think that would be fantastic to go back to those days and have an East versus West. That would be ideal. And I would love to see East versus West to play the likes of Arsenal. I think that would be a very, very cool way of doing things. A little MLS All Star tournaments. Cool. But also on that, Wayne Rooney is going to be coaching the MLS All Star team, which is great. It's no surprise, really, in my eyes, for the fact that the game is at Audi Field. It's at the home of DC United, the home of the Black and Red. And yeah, it just makes sense for it to be Wayne Rooney. I would have thought there would have been a bit more to the reason why they chose the head coach, but I'm not going to argue. It's a great advertisement for the game in DC. I think it should be a great festival. Should have some great stuff happening, and I know for season ticket members that they've been able to get free tickets to the skills game, the skills matches. So I hope you do enjoy it whilst you're out there. And I've seen obviously ticket prices, and I think they're quite expensive, but I think it's going to be a sellout. So whilst I looked at plane tickets to fly over, see how much it was, which we were looking at no check baggage and no extra leg room, which, if you've met me, you know how big I am. I need the extra leg room. Without that, that was going to cost £700 for a return, which would have flown me out on the Monday and come back on the Sunday. If I wanted the check package, and the extra leg room was then going to go up to like £1,200. So I don't think that would be a wise idea to do that. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I won't be there, which is a huge shame. I would love to have been at the All Star events. I think it would have been a lot of fun. It would have been some great laughs. It would be good to see Arsenal again. It's been a while since I've seen them play live. But yeah, I hope you guys who have got tickets do get to go out and do enjoy it, have a lot of fun, go to the skills matches, and it should be a very fun couple of days. Let's put it that way. Cool. So we got Isaiah coming in on the chat there, just saying you were at the game last weekend at the Yankee Stadium. Decent match despite the results. I have thoughts though. Well, I'll be coming on to the match review in a short while. So please do pop your thoughts in the chat. Be interested to hear what you've got. Right. Other bits of news. And a big one for a former DC United player and club legend, Bill Hamid. He's finally found a new club. He has joined up with former US men's national team goalkeeper Tim Howard at Memphis 901 in USL. If you follow him on the socials, Bill, you'll have seen he's been over here in the UK training with Crystal Palace just to keep up the fitness. He knows one of the coaches out here. So he's been keeping up to date and keeping up with that and making sure he's fit and ready, really, which is great commitment, I have to say. And shows how passionate he is about the game and how desperate he is to get back on the field. So I hope he does well in Memphis. Nothing but love for the guy. And good luck, Bill. If you're listening or watching, cheers. Other bits of news, we've got Lewis O'Brien's obviously was announced last week that he is joining the Black and Red on loan until July 18th, I think it was. And there was the option to buy clause in there. Now, I might have said last week that was a great deal, but coming out of the Athletic, they've been digging into it, and it appears that every loan deal an MLS team does, in terms of incoming, has to include the option of a loan to buy. A little bit perplexed by that one. Unsure why you would need that, have to have that clause in there. But it is one of those. It's whether it's to try and tie down talent to MLS, but again, it doesn't alter my feelings about the deal. I still think it's a cracking deal. He's a great player, definitely Premier League level, and very, very happy to have him, even if it's just for a few months. Really looking forward to seeing him on the pitch. Disappointed that he wasn't able to get that deal to Blackburn Rovers before the deadline, because I think that would have been great for him as well to stay in England. But their loss is our gain. So happy about that. Then we move on to an article that I actually only saw today in my DCU news feed that I have. And it was about Mateusz Klich and how he would end up being in tears towards the end of his Leeds time. So basically what happened is JC Marsh, when he came in, and at the start of this season in England, so the 2022-2023 season, he was told that he was going to have a bit part play, he's be coming in off the bench, which he accepted that role. So at the end of his deal, Klich was planning to leave Leeds United anyway. So at the end of 2024, so he still had 18 months left to run on his current contract when he joined DC United. So he goes to say, I wanted to finish my contract at Leeds and leave in 1.5 years. Before the season, I knew that I would not be a starting player and I would be coming from the bench. He agreed to the role and was curious myself how I would handle it. I like to play football and I want to do it as often as possible, which is fair. For the first few games, it still looked good. I felt okay. After that, we started to play very poorly, and I think I should have had a few chances from the first minute of the game. However, I didn't get any, which I was angry about. It continues to go on and saying, I saw that the coach was messing with the squad, throwing other players in different positions, and not taking me into account at all. Although, for example, in the previous match, I played well. Eventually, I started to get nervous. It was just pure ambition. There's more things about the fans and how everyone understood the reasons why he left the club. And again, I've mentioned before, you go back onto social media and you look at actual fans and their response to Klich leaving, and it's just nothing but positivity about the guy. And the fact that he was desperate to get on the field and do well for the club and do well by the team, to me, that's really good. And I think we need to embrace that, and I think we will. And we look at how he played in the last game, and so far this season, a lot of comments about him disappearing, but he's getting assists. He scored a goal. He's done more than what other players have done. So so far so good for me in my eyes. I'm happy with him. So there's that. And that's pretty much it for the news. I know I'll do it week by week. There'll be a few bits every week, but every so often we'll have a little bundle. But for this week, that's all for the news. So, moving on to match review time for the New York City FC game. So, first time that I've done this, I decided to do match notes. Not many, because I was tweeting away as I do. If you don't follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/DC United Kingdom, do that. And whilst I'm talking about that, also please do become a member of DC United Kingdom. Just go to dcunitedkingdom.com/membership. It's completely free to do so. But if you want to help support the podcast, support the group, you can do a paid version. And if you do a yearly subscription, you'll also get a DC United Kingdom t-shirt with name and number on the back. But yeah, um, these are the notes that I've been doing. Yes, I do have DC United notepad, which I can jot down my notes about the game, and I've used them to talk about the game on Instagram Live. I had Barney on last week, who's the guy who does at UK NYCFC, part of the MLS UK community, which is growing strong. Please do follow MLS UK hashtag, and you'll have, if you do, you might have spotted the MLS UK show on the MLS 360 last week, which was pretty fantastic. They've got their own studio, which has got TVs up on the wall, and it just looks great. They were watching multiple games at the same time, which I'm a little bit jealous of. But then saying that, I probably wouldn't be able to concentrate too well. So let's go and talk about last week's game. So, as always, little stat rundown. So we had 52.5% possession. So 52.5 to 47.5% possession in this game, which is quite tight. It's not usual. For a lot of our previous games, we've been dominating a lot more with the ball, especially at home. I know this one was away, but it's one of those games which was a game of two halves, I want to say. I know that's very cliche to say that, but it truly, truly was a game of two very different halves. So other stats that we had 9 shots to their 10. We had 4 shots on target to their 6. We completed a few more passes than they did. It was actually very even on that. There was 35 difference between the two sides. And then again, I know I mentioned this last week about the Orlando get. Was it Orlando? Yeah, Orlando. Now I'm questioning myself. Yeah, it was Orlando, where they had an array of clearances. I think they had like 40 odd clearances to our 11 or 12. But for this one, again, New York City had double the amount of clearances to ours. They had 28 to our 14, which is just mad. The amount of difference between the two sides on that. Even Stevens on the fouls counts, 13 apiece. Yellow cards was 3 to 2. Actually, why am I not sharing my screen? Let me share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at as well. There we go. Screen. Yes, I understand. And let's proceed. There we go. Share. There we are. And show on stream. There we go. So this is what I tend to look at when I'm doing all my stat breakdowns, and it's great. So you can see things like the passing network, which also shows average position, which I really enjoy looking at because you get to see how attacking each side is. So if you're listening to the podcast, it's not really great, this one, but I will try and explain it as much as I can. So NYCFC, they had the majority of their players in their own half, especially at the back. So I think that's Maxime Chanot, Thiago Martins, and Tavon Gray. So 3 at the back there. James Sands was classed as a centre back in the 11 that was announced, but it seems that he moved forward a little bit, so he's more of an anchor man. Then you had Keaton Parks. Why is that? Number 3 not coming up. Number 3 was pretty much bang on halfway line. Gabriel Pereira on the right. Santi Rodriguez, Talix Magno, and Matthias Pellegrini more towards the centre forward positions. And you could see when you look at it, the majority of the passes were around the back area. So they were attempting to keep the ball, take control. That's the home team. That's what generally will happen. They will look at that. When you look at ours, a little bit different, I want to say. So you're looking at the 2 centre backs of Birnbaum and Williams pretty high up, not bad. Then right in front of them, you had Russell Knaus as the holding midfielder, which is pretty standard for him. That's the role he does. Matthijs Klick just slightly ahead, and then as the wingers, you got Jeze, and then you got Ruan on the right. Chris Durkin just ahead of him, only just on the right hand side ahead of Ruan, which was a little bit surprising, but shows how attacking Ruan is. I love that. I think we really need to exploit that about Ruan. I think he's great for the attacking side of things. I'd like to see potentially Durkin move to right back, potentially. And we can then use Ruan a bit more. But then you look at the overlap side of things, and actually that works very, very well. Then up top, then you got Benteke, Ted Pietro, and Nigel Roberto there up top. And again, you the majority of the passing was between the centre backs and the keeper, but it was a little bit all over. Nigel Roberto didn't really get many passes from the looks of it. They really don't have anyone on him, which is a bit weird. But then, if I'm honest, I don't really remember too much of Roberto. He was very, very quiet in that game. And then you look towards further bottom, then you look at the expected goals, which when you look at the first half, we weren't really doing well at all. We barely had an attempt on goal. Then we brought it back in the second half, but XG total wise 2.1 to 0.7. Yeah, it's again no real surprise, but they did have quite a bit more in the first. Then, like I said, we brought it a little bit back in the second half. So, as I said at the start, it really was a game of two halves. Cool. So I will stop sharing that now. There we go. So that's what I use to look at my stats. That's just on that's on the DC United website, but it's also available on MLSsoccer.com. You just go to the fixture and just click on stats, and you'll see all the stuff there. So if you want to have a look at it, go ahead. So looking at my notes, my lovely little one-page notes there. So I broke it down into both halves. Like I said, that's what I do. And if you've got any thoughts about this game, I know as you said you did, please do pop them in the chat there. I would love to have a little discussion about that. So when we're looking at it, to me, we were incredibly poor in the first half. Very slow. Just all what was happening was we were playing balls up to Benteke at the top, and all they did was just surround him. So Benteke didn't really have any support. It's very difficult for him to win the ball. He'd win the ball, but then there would be nothing for him, so he'd lose it, and they would recycle possession. Then obviously they scored their first goal. Then in their second goal, I noticed, to me it looked like there was a foul on Ted in the build-up, which basically they won the ball. I thought it was a foul. They went on the counter and then scored from it. So Santi Rodriguez scored that goal. It was frustrating for me on that aspect. I really was disappointed about it, but that's what it is. We can't change what happened, but that's my thoughts on it. I thought it was a foul. I didn't really see anybody else calling it, but that's my view. Really thought that Ted was a key player in the first half. Really wanted to make a difference. He was doing a lot of chasing the ball, trying to make things happen, which is what I've come to expect from him. He's got the youth on him. He's got the energy, and he's got the drive to go and do something because he wants to really be out there on the field rather than be on the bench. I've put on my notes that I felt that New York City were allowed to be comfortable on the ball. We weren't really pressing unless it was in our own half. So what you'd see is, and on the stats it actually was highlighted there was the amount of time that they had the ball within their back line and the amount of passing that was going on there. And that was purely because, one, it was just Benteke up top, really. And we really weren't pressing a huge amount in that first half. In the final third, which is what we've done quite a lot recently. So it was a bit surprising. Whether that was down to the fact that it was just different size pitch, felt like we couldn't do that. The quality of the pitch isn't great there either at Yankee Stadium, so maybe that had something to do with it. Um, and we also had, for us in the UK anyway, we had our first Apple TV glitch. Yes, it's taken a few games to get to it, but and I'm surprised it's taken this long. But we had about 4 or 5 minutes where we couldn't actually watch any of the game. It was just frozen. It wasn't like that across the world, so I'm a bit surprised about how that had occurred, but it did. So yeah, bit of a shame, but that's how it happened. Didn't have any audio or anything. It was just literally just frozen. So yeah, very surprising. Moving on to second half. What a difference. I've just come off the Instagram halftime chat that I do. I've started doing recently, and I think it's been rather good. It's been very entertaining. I had Sean Howe, our director of scouting, on the first one that I did against Orlando, and then I had Barney on for last week. So I'll be doing it again this weekend. No, I won't actually. I won't be doing it this weekend because I'm away. Oh no. I completely forgot about that. I'm away. It's my wedding anniversary tomorrow. We're away to celebrate it this weekend. I wonder if I can get away with watching the game or not. We shall see. We shall see. Anyway, yeah. So we come off the halftime chat because I saw that the second half was about to kick off. We said our goodbyes on the Instagram, and then 40 seconds later, Benteke scored. I thought that was great. What a way to come out. We were talking about it on our little chat about how we thought, well, Wayne must be giving the lads in the locker room a bit of a Sir Alex Ferguson hairdryer treatment to try and get them back into the game. And I think that worked. I think he mentioned about how he would have, if he could, he would have subbed everyone off at halftime because that's how he felt the game went. So obviously he was a little bit peed off. So yeah, it was good to see that. Then I've put on here about soft fouls given by the ref, led to a couple of bookings. I'm pretty sure one was one of that. Was that the previous game? Could have been the previous one. Who did get a booking in our game? Summary. Let's have a quick look at that. So bookings wise, we had Victor Paulson. Surprise, surprise, he got a booking because we made the triple substitution at halftime. So Green came on for one, Pedro Santos came on for Nigel Bertha, and Paulson came on for Canals. Then 4 minutes into the half, Paulson gets his yellow card. So I think I tweeted out on the previous question that Eric gave was how angry is Victor Paulson? He was quite angry in this one. So yeah. And then Jose had to go off for an injury after he picked up a yellow card. Then we had Akamboni go off injured because he received a head injury. Pedro Santos, who would also come on, had to go off due to injury as well. So yes, we had Jose go off injured, Akamboni injured, and Pedro Santos go off injured. So yeah, it really wasn't our look for that side of things. But moving on from that, we started to come into the game. We started playing rather well. Felt like we were going to bring it back to 2-2 at one point. And that was going towards the end of the game. I thought we could actually sneak a point out of this. But then they do the sucker punch of getting a third. And I was like, that's it. That's it. Game over. Absolutely done. Steve Birnbaum, I felt, was at fault for the third goal. The pass just went straight past it, just went by him. He didn't really react in time. He just was very slow. And that's not the first time I've seen that from Steve, which is a shame. He is starting to come towards the end of his career. He's 33 now. So he's not as quick as he used to be. And I think we just need to start phasing his game out a little bit. We need to keep Derek Williams in, and I think once Brendan is back and fit, bringing him in, and it'll be in a Brendan and Derek centre back pairing with Akinboni being the backup alongside Bam Bam. That's how I see it going moving forward. But then saying that, after I was seething about Bam Bam in the 88th minute, it then goes and scores in the 90th minute. Thanks to an assist by Click from the wing, ball comes in and he powers the header home. It's just like flip a neck. Yeah, fair. It's not a bad shout. That I wouldn't mind seeing Bam Bam as a second half sub. And for me, I think that's more of a sub towards the end of the game, where we are looking to pump the ball in the box potentially, and we actually just stick him up as a striker. I think that's more of a better idea with the way he is. He's not the quick player, but he's great in the air. He generally leads MLS in duels, header duels anyway. So why not use that to our advantage on the set piece and pumping the ball in the box? That would be pretty good shout actually. And then so we brought it back to 3-2, and then again the hope was there, and what I've titled the episode, and I think it was Keenan who mentioned it in the DCUK chat, and the phrase was, "It's the hope that gets you." And it was twice in this game that the hope got me, and to come at the end of the game to feel with a disappointment. But so we had a corner, I think it was in the 98th minute, and I was like, yeah, come on, this is it. This is our time. We can do it again, like we did against Toronto. Yes, this would be for a point, but it would feel just as good. Ball comes in, and there's Bam Bam at the back post, free again. And I was thinking, yeah, come on. All he has to do is just power the header just at the goal. Don't try and be cute with it. Don't try and get it into the near post or anything like that. It's just power. That's all we need is power, because that's what he did in the 90th minute to get the goal. But no, he tries to be cute with it and get the power. So he tries to do two things at once, and it went wide, and it was just, that was it. That was our final opportunity, and that was it. Finished the game 3-2. And yeah, it felt a little bit tough based on the first half. It's probably a fair result. The fact that we didn't come out with anything, it still feels a bit stinging because we could have come out with something in this game. But it is what it is. Right. I forgot to do a little bit of news about a very special little thing. I just need to bring it up on screen, really, don't I? Let me just find it before we move on to the preview of the next game. So let me just find ye olde picture. Where are you? I'm sure I had it somewhere. Where have I put it? What have I done with the picture? I've probably not put it in the right place, which wouldn't surprise me. Sorry, talk amongst yourselves for the moment. What have I done with the picture? There's a little picture I want to show on screen. But, I've completely lost it. Never mind. It's just the DCUK pint glass. It's back. It's back with a bang. It's available on the DCUK website, DCUnited.com/DCUK store. You know what? I can just share my screen again. So you can see it in all of its glory. Right. Screen. Let's go. Here we are. Look at that. Absolute beauty. The DCUK pint glass is back. Available for 20 whole pounds. you can just go straight to the website. You can use Google Pay or you can use PayPal, whichever you prefer. If you're on Apple, I'm sure there's Apple Pay on there as well. Yeah, it isn't quite a pint glass though, so I do apologize about that. But that's what the uh, stock provider has called it, is a pint glass, but it is only 473 milliliters, which isn't a pint. So apologies, but it is dishwasher safe, so you can use it. I mean, it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. So get yourself one, because why not? Anyway, shall we talk about this weekend's game against New England Revolution? So, New England coming to town this Saturday, 25th of March, 7:30 p.m. kickoff Eastern time, 11:30 p.m. kickoff British time, just before the clocks go forward. Imagine when do the clocks change for the UK? So the clocks change for us 1 o'clock on Sunday morning. So it could be a bit different for us. So we're going to lose an hour's sleep this weekend. Never mind. Yeah, it's 11:30 p.m. kickoff for us. It is available on Apple TV, completely free this time around. So if you don't have MLS Season Pass, you can still watch it. So go ahead, get yourself on there, get watching the game. And if you're in DC or in the US, you can listen to Dave Johnson. Why not? Why the heck not? Would you not want to do that? I'm missing him this year. It's horrible not hearing him commentating the games. It would be nice to be able to hear that again. So, Dave, if you're listening or if you're watching, just know I miss you, bud. I miss you much. Right. So, head-to-head wise for this game, between the two sides, there's been 91 fixtures, 39 wins for DC, 36 wins for the Revs, and 16 draws. For me, this is generally a tough game, especially the fact that they've got Bruce Arena. They've come on leaps and bounds after being coached by Brad Friedel. And these generally have a bit of a bite to these games as well. So there's a bit of, I want to say a little bit of rivalry, and I think that's just down to the fact that we're both OG clubs as well. So we've got the history there, which I kind of like, and I hope this game just has a bit of a bite to it. I hope there's lots of goals, but we shall see. However, our recent form against Revs has not been great, as Revs have won 7 of the last 8 fixtures, though last season at Audi Field we did beat them. So we've got that. We're currently unbeaten at home so far this year. Yes, we've only had 2 games at home, but we've had 1 win and 1 tie. We've not had a stretch of 3 games unbeaten since 2021. It's a bit tough, that. So yeah, that's September 2021. The Revs are actually off to their second best start in club history as well. Keeping clean sheets in each of their 3 wins, each of its wins so far, which is the first time that they've done that so far this season in history. 4 of the 6 goals that we've scored have actually come from crosses. No other team has actually come close this season with that. So the closest is 2 goals from crosses. So it shows that we're using the wings quite well. Click got 2 assists at the weekend from crosses. So there's that. And then you got the most common result between the 2 sides. I wonder whether you might know what this one would be. What is the most common result between the 2 sides? So I'll let you have a little think about that one, and if you've got a guess, pop it in the chat. Whilst I talk about their players, they've got Gustavo Bo, who we all know is a very, very good forward. Not heard a lot about him recently because I know he's been injured a fair bit. Still a really good player. Carlos Hill, who from the British side we know very well from his Villa days. But also, we all know from MLS days, MLS career so far, where he's been an MVP. So we all know how good he can be. And then there's Giacomo Vrioni, who's a centre forward as well. That's their DPs. They've got one player in the under 22 initiative as well, who is Dylan Barrera, who's a midfielder. No generation Adidas players. So where is that? But I hope you guys have had a little bit of a thought about what the most common result is between the two sides. And that is 2-1. So that's happened on at least 10 occasions in this fixture. That's quite often. Over 10% of the fixtures have been 2-1. So on that, what is your score prediction for this weekend? And when you look at the form of the two teams, obviously we look at the support shield table anyway, and we are currently sat in 18th. Not horrendous, but not particularly brilliant either. It's kind of mediocre, which is better than what we've been recently. I have to say, it could be a lot worse. We could be completely down at the bottom. New England are currently second in the Eastern Conference and third overall. They're currently on 9 points. They've played 4 games, won 3, lost 1. They've scored 5 goals and conceded 4, so they've only got a +1 goal difference. Their roads record is 1 win, 1 defeat. So we've got that. And then for ourselves, we're on 4 points at the moment. So 1 win, 1 draw, which has been our home fixtures. We've lost twice on the road. We've scored 6 and conceded 8. So we're on a -2 goal difference so far. So we've actually scored more than the Revs so far this season. But yeah, we have been a bit leaky at the back, which has been a question from the chats prior to this podcast going live. So I will answer about my thoughts on that as well. So based on our home form, based on Rev's away record so far this season, based on the goals scored and goals conceded, there will be goals in this game. And I'm going to go very cliche and I'm going to go with the most common result of 2-1 to DC United, that is. I think as long as we've got the fans behind us, and what I want to see is us take the lead in this one. I don't want to see us coming from behind. Even though I know we can do it. We've shown the fight that we can do it, and we've got the will to do it. I just don't want us to keep doing it. Please, I beg you. Please don't go behind in this game. Just take the lead and get a second goal, and then take the lead again. If you have to concede to an equaliser, absolutely fine. But yeah, it's. I feel like a 2-1 win will do as well, and it could very well kickstart our season. So that's my prediction. And there was something else about this game, which was from Ryan Kiefer. He tweeted out about the injuries for this weekend. So availability, so definitely out this weekend. Heinz Ike with his foot injury. Nahar is out with his thigh injury. Obviously, Rodriguez is out for the season. Akamboni is definitely out thanks to the head injury he got. And Pedro Santos is unfortunately out as well. Questionable. Taxi. So he could be making a return this weekend, which would be great. To see him back in the team, probably from the bench on this one, I would imagine, if he is going to be back. And Derek Williams is also questionable with a thigh injury. So a few thigh injuries, a couple of knee injuries, a head injury and a foot injury. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So yeah, I'll be pleased to see Taxi back. It'd be nice to see him there, back in the lineup. Like I said, even if it's from the bench, just to build his fitness back into 90 minutes. Be happy about that. But yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm still going to go for a 2-1 win. Love to see and hear what your thoughts are, especially on game day. That'd be great to see, and I hope to see more of the DCUK flag as well. If you've not spotted it, um, if you're at Audi Field, next to the support section, next to the Chico stand, in that corner, where you got the 202 unique and all the support group flags, you'll see the DCUK flag. So if you do see it and you're near it, take a cheeky photo and tag me on social media. I'd be love to see that, because the week before, we saw a few photos from the DC United Academy players, and a great guy who's recently took on a role with the DC United Academy. Go and follow him on Instagram, I Spy Brian. He does some quality pictures, but he's ended up taking a few photos with the DC United Academy players with the flag. I absolutely loved it. It made me so proud to see that. Especially when he said that he spotted the flag, he recognized the logo, and he recognized that it was the podcast. So absolutely chuffed about that. Really, really happy. So yeah. So if I'm watching this game, I won't be tuning in Instagram live this weekend, which is a bit of a shame. I was hoping to do that, but yeah, I'm going to be away, so I can't really do that unless I sneak out, which probably won't happen. But I said probably won't happen. It definitely won't happen. So 2-1 win. Let's move on to the fan questions. I really need to do a jingle for fan questions. I'll work on that for the next episode. Do a nice little jingle for fan cues. So first one that came in was 7 Victor G. So thank you very much for the question. It's about the MLS power rankings. It has us 24th out of 29. Does he think that I think it's fair? Sorry, no, does he think I think it's fair? He wants to know whether I think it's fair. No, I don't know how they do this. But I read on the website, voted on by 15 MLS personalities, editors, and writers. How they work it out, I think they just pick their favorite team. And as I said, we're 18th in the Support Shield standings. So how we're 24th in the power rankings, I don't know. I get recent games and whether they've won, whether they've lost, that moves people up and down. But you've got, what was the one that I spotted? Sporting Kansas. So you look at their recent form, and let me just get the form guide up. So the way they've played so far this season doesn't really, to me, reflect a higher position in the MLS power rankings than us. So they've played 3 games so far this season. They've lost both games. They've lost 2 games, drawn 1. They have scored a grand total of 1 goal. 1 goal. They've played Portland, Galaxy, and Dallas so far. The second bottom. How does that correlate to being higher than DC United in the power rankings? And not just by a single position, but they're 21st. It infuriates me, the power rankings, which is why I generally just don't look at it. But obviously I was asked, so I've got to have a look at it. But it genuinely infuriates me, this. And then you look at, Montreal. Let's use them as an example. So they're down in 22nd in the Sport Shield rankings. So 2 places below us in the conference, but they beat Philly, and that was a good comeback win. I've got to give credit there for that win. However, They're only one place below us. Yeah, we last won in the first game of the season. We've not won the last 3 games yet. Montreal won and won against a very good Philly side. Again, I I would have put Montreal above us in the power rankings. Who else is above us? Vancouver Whitecaps. They're above us. Yeah, they're down in 26. They've had 3 draws. They've not won a game yet. They've kept a single clean sheet, but they've scored 1, 2, 3, 4 goals in 5 games so far. So they've played an extra game than we have. They've got one less point. Yeah, they're above us. I genuinely just don't know what to do. I really, it infuriates me. It makes me angry, the power rankings. And I genuinely think that it's just down to favoritism. It's so poor how this has happened. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the power rankings. It feels like they've taken last season into account, and they also take the CCL into account as well, which isn't MLS. That's CCL. That doesn't affect the league. I mean, it affects the league in a roundabout sense, but yeah, I wouldn't use that to take into account MLS related stuff. So yeah, primarily for me, it's down to absolute favoritism. In St. Louis City is another example. They're in third. They're the first team, first expansion side to win 4 games in a row. Yeah, they're not top. They're top of the league. They're not just the Western Conference. The top of the Supporters Shield. Yeah, they're not number 1 in the power rankings. That if you're not LAFC or was it Seattle Sounders, or one of the fashionable teams, then you're not going to get up high. So, I mean, Cincinnati somehow in second in the power rankings. Yes, they're 4th in the Supporters Shield. But Atlanta are above them. New England Revolution are above them. St. Louis City are above them. How does Cincinnati's form and things correlate to being second in the power rankings? Yeah, I'm a bit mad. Anyway, I'm going to come off that because I am getting genuinely a little bit frustrated by it. So anyway, moving on to Richard. Richard Wilson, who does some really good articles for MLS Now. So go and check that out. His Twitter handle, so you can follow him, is RJ Wilson. So go and follow him. Like I said, he does some really good stuff on in terms of match reviews, and things. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But he's asked, what do you think DC needs to do to staunch the number of goals the team is conceding? So that kind of harks on back to the point that I was talking about earlier. So for me, we need to attack more. That sounds a bit, or to go to thinking about defense, into attacking more. But for me, if we can take that lead, we can then sit a little bit more comfortably and not worry about being countered or anything. We can actually hold our line a lot more. So I'd want us to see us to take that lead, because we have gone behind too many times so far this season. That does knock confidence a little bit. So you go 1 down, you try and recoup and regroup and get back into the game, but then you try and do that, then you get countered, then you concede the second goal, and then that's just kind of starts snowballing. So if we can take the lead, we can then work on sitting back, soaking up the pressure, and then getting a second goal, and then a little bit of Benny Ball style into it, which I'll probably get a little bit of flack for saying that, but we kind of just need to take baby steps forward. If you don't concede, you don't lose. There is that kind of mentality to it that we need, but we also need to think about if we don't score, we don't win. That's another side to the coin. But for me, to prevent conceding to more goals, or a lot of goals, we need to score more and score first. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that answers your question, Richard. Then the last question came in was from Eric, who is also a DCUK member alongside Richard. Again, if you're not part of it, do come and join us at dcunitedkingdom.com/membership. We do have a Twitter chat. So if you're not on Twitter, just get yourself an account and get joining in. There's lots of great banter, especially on game days. It's so much fun in there. But we also keep chatting just throughout the week, just see how we are. Talk about the latest things that's all DC United related. And if we're going abroad, I know one of the guys is coming over to the UK very soon, so it'd be great to and we'll just chat about that. So Eric, anyway, he's asked a few questions in the past, especially that Paulson one, which I loved. He said, pretend you're Wayne Rooney. So, hey, calm down. Oh, we're just going to put my Scouse accent on. No, please don't. Archie James, don't do that. For the love of God, please don't do that. So, pretend you really just get into the mindset of being Wayne Rooney. No longer the top goal scorer for England anymore. Thanks, Harry. I appreciate that. But I lead DC United. Okay. What is the take on young players so far based on what we're seeing? So I'm proud like a proud dad. That's the instant take is we've got to be proud of these youngsters. Seeing the impact that they're making in each of the games so far has been really pleasing, especially Ted. He's had some really good games so far. We've got to be cautious with it in terms of not playing them too much and causing some burnout, and manages game time effectively. But so far, so good. Then, and I noticed that I think one of the lads, Angus, he mentioned about seeing him as more of an impact player, which is great. Yep, I can see that side of it. And I see that happening more in the future once we get players coming back fit. That he comes on, makes the impact. You look at how he did that against Toronto and how much of an impact he made in that game coming off the bench. That's, for his age, that will be his most effective weapon right now, whilst he works on being effective and being an impact from the first minute. So whilst he's young, use him as an impact and then build that extra into his game moving forward. But again, we've seen how much he wants to make an impact throughout the 90 minutes, especially against New York City, where he was chasing things down and trying to get into the game and actually make a difference. So, yeah, it's good. I like it. Then we saw Jacob Green making his MLS debut against New York City. That was fantastic to see. When he came on, he looked really, really good. Very pleased how well he played. Showed a lot of maturity. Didn't look out of place. I have to say, did not look out of place at all. Then you've got the likes of Christian Fletcher and Jackson Hopkins as well, we've not really seen so far this season. I know we saw Hopkins at the second half last season. We saw how well he was doing. And then obviously Durkin came in and actually made the right wing role his own. So I would like to see Hopkins a little bit more, just so we can see how much of an impact he can make. But time will come for him. And then same with Christian Fletcher as well. I'd like to see him getting some game time, albeit from the bench. But yeah, I would love to see him out there and making an impact as well, so we can assess that too. But so far, so good. Very happy with how the youngsters are playing, and I know Wayne likes to play the youngsters as well, and he likes to actually use them and give them the game time that they deserve, and actually help them improve as players. So those are the fun questions. Thank you for sending those in. Appreciate it. Make sure if you didn't get a question in this week, that you get one in for next week. It doesn't have to be DC United related. It could be whatever you want. If you want me to try and pretend to be Wayne Rooney again, absolutely fine. But yeah, whatever question you want. Which leads us to the end of the show and the trivia time question, which was about this week's opponent in being New England Revolution, the Rumble at RFK, that playoff match. What was the penalty shootout scoreline that saw DC United beat the Revs? Bonus points if you can get the player who scored the game-winning penalty. But the shout for that one, which was 4-3 to DC United in the penalty shootout, and the game-winning penalty was Brian Carroll. So that's it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you're not following me on Twitter at DC United Kingdom, Facebook's at DCU is at DC United Kingdom FC, Instagram's DCUK FC. Links are in the description below, so please do go and check them out. If you've got this far, I know I've not mentioned it actually already, but please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, please do subscribe. Spotify as well. That'd be great. I tend to do a little poll on Spotify as well. So if you don't listen to that on there and you have Spotify, try it out. You can actually watch the episode on Spotify as well. And then, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much. If you've got the ability to leave a comment or leave a little review, please do. I always love hearing and seeing the reviews that you guys leave. So that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And whilst I get the mouse onto the right button, until next time, Farmers United.
Swelling on record, off record deals. Tell them Tucker Collins for the quote. On record, off record. I still want the act, not the ghost. Whoa, whoa, whoa.